Hello everyone, a new trailer for Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is here. In this video we're going to break down the trailer, see what kind of hidden details, secrets, and everything else this video has to offer, as well as getting into some of our own Breath of the Wild 2 theories. Towards the end of this video, I have a bit of an update on Ocarina of Time HD that I didn't want to put in its own video, so please check it out after this Breath of the Wild analysis at the end of the video. You can watch the live reactions from Daniel, Kayla, 𝐅𝐵𝐺𝐿𝐴, and I on yesterday's video, not just for this, but for the entire Direct and the Nintendo Treehouse. Later today, we're going to be having the Hylian Gamescast, where we actually sit down and discuss all of our thoughts. After having an entire day to look over everything that was announced, especially the Breath of the Wild 2 and Age of Calamity DLC trailers, so please be excited for that. And let's get into this. It starts off with the Calamity trails kind of oozing out everywhere. We have Link's hand being consumed by the Malice. I love the details we can see. The metal armor with the squares cut out underneath the champion tunic, the folds that are kind of crumpled going down the long sleeves. Oddly enough, Link actually looks less like he is concerned and more like he's just in some pain. We have more Calamity trails. We see dehydrated Ganondorf once again, this time sort of standing up and bending backwards, possibly unleashing his full power to cause Hyrule to rise. And then we see Zelda up close as she falls. Now, she does look very concerned. This scene of Zelda falling down into the darkness with no idea of what is below, it gives me very strong Skyward Sword vibes. We did report on a leak saying Breath of the Wild 2 would take a lot of inspiration from Skyward Sword, and we can clearly see that with this, and all of the other scenes, such as the floating islands in this trailer that we'll get to later. Presumably, this is right after we see Zelda slipping in the old trailer. We see Link catching Zelda and the spirit hand catching Link. Something else seems to happen to cause Link to drop Zelda, or maybe she simply slipped. This is a very long fall. We see Zelda going so deep. Since we are presumably already deep within a cave, it makes me wonder what is even further deeper down in the cave where Zelda possibly lands. I also wonder if this is purposefully meant to throw us off. If Zelda uses her powers to save herself. We don't know the full extent of her goddess powers, and we already know plenty of items like the Sheikah Slate can just teleport you. Plus we have this mystery spirit hand. Maybe it was even Link raising his hand up to pull Zelda back up to where he is. But yeah, I feel this is a little bit misleading because falling that far, Zelda would definitely die. And I don't think she does, and I strongly doubt Nintendo will start off the game by killing Zelda. It would be kind of cliche to go all the way through Breath of the Wild just to save Zelda, and then have to do the same thing all over again in the same Hyrule with the same Zelda. I think it'll be more like Spirit Tracks, where Zelda kind of tagged along with you. Next, we go full Skyward Sword, with Link extremely high in the sky, falling down towards these other floating islands, which themselves are already so high up above the clouds, you can't even see the land below. Or maybe it's just a really cloudy day. How did Link get up this high? Was he using a Rito or possibly even a Loft Wing? I'm still hoping they include Loft Wings as a bonus carried over from Skyward Sword and its Loft Wing amiibo, similar to how the Wolf Link amiibo carried over from Twilight Princess HD. Link has a new outfit here with a new hairstyle that really shows off the game's physics engine, his hair blowing in the wind, as well as his outfit. Daniel and Rick almost instantly figured out this looked like the Thundra Plateau. We also get a first look at Link's infected hand, or cursed arm. If you remember in the original trailer, Link's hand was powered by the green spirit we seen. However, this time, we see it cursed by the Malice. Maybe the Malice took over Link's hand and was going to take over his whole body, but the green spirit quickly attached itself to Link, counteracting the Malice and saving his life, as well as giving him some cool nifty powers, as we'll see in a moment. Perhaps each dungeon will remove more and more of the Malice, allowing Link's power with the Spirit Hand to become stronger and stronger. This being the way the game allows Link to gain new abilities, since a lot of people are thinking the champion abilities are now going to be gone, as well as possibly even the Sheikah Slate. Though I think the Sheikah Slate will still be there, just not in as big of a role. Think of unlocking abilities with this hand as something similar to going dungeon to dungeon in past Zelda games and getting the bow and arrow, claw shot, bombs, or whatever inside those dungeons. Or actually, the same way we got the champion abilities in Breath of the Wild by completing each divine beast. We actually made a video long ago talking about how the game would allow Link to use this glowing energy as a replacement for the Sheikah Slate. One ability even being able to grab onto things or enemies from afar and pull them closer, or pulling Link towards it, similar to the claw shot or whip, and we actually see that later in the trailer. I've also been receiving emails and messages from some of you reminding me of another video we made about this game implementing a new form of time travel, or time control, which was told to us by someone who said they were a writer for Nintendo working on Breath of the Wild 2, and we do actually see him controlling time, like a weaker version of the time shift stone, but we'll get into that later on. That video is also in the description below for those who want to watch it. We then see the nighttime sky. Remember, Skyward Sword was odd with this. If you tried to fly from Skyloft at night, the Loftwing police would be there to stop you. The islands are still so far above the ground, all we can see are more clouds beneath. They also seem to be from the same area, as they also have the same type of trees. So this at nighttime from a second perspective. Then we are taken down below, where again, see the same trees of the same kind on the floating islands in the sky. Perhaps the same islands, this time from below instead of above, giving a third perspective. Here we have what I want to call a 𝐓𝐻𝐵. We were told long ago that we would be getting new enemies, mostly focusing on a more aggressive version of the Guardians, and a new flying Guardian. It does appear like this may be able to fly, unless the top part just hopped up onto the lower sections. It does take a lot of influence from the 𝐓𝐵, which are also in segments from Skyward Sword. So similar to how Aonuma and Miyamoto have said while working on one game, ideas and concepts will sometimes influence each other. Aonuma also stated he copied and pasted the Koroks from Wind Waker into Breath of the Wild, just because it was easy and they already looked great in Wind Waker. So perhaps they liked the enemy in Skyward Sword and just made a new version in Breath of the Wild 2. While editing this video, one interesting thing that I noticed is that it looks like these 𝐓𝐵, or Guardians, whatever you would call them, he has hands and are on top of one of the floating islands, although they could also be found on the mainland of Hyrule as well. A Guardian mixed with a 𝐓𝐵 with hands, and I wonder if they can configure themselves into different shapes. Like maybe some have certain pieces and others have other pieces. Kind of like how the smaller Guardians, some will have one weapon while others will have 3 or 4. So maybe this 𝐓𝐵 can configure itself in such a way that some are more powerful than others. It'll be interesting to see who or what created these though, as most enemies are organic like Lionel's. And the robotic enemies, like the Guardians, we know how they were created. So maybe these 𝐓𝐵 are made by Yiga or just conjured up by Ganondorf? I'd love to hear your theories, how you think they'll fit in, and which new enemies or enemies from past games that you would love to see. So comment below and let me know. Personally, I would love to see a Dark Nut. Next, we see Link paragliding. First, in the background, we see these almost pillar or gear-like structures that have fallen over. And maybe I'm missing something and these were in Breath of the Wild, but they seem to be standing out to me. We also see what looks like the top part of a shrine with the bottom part underground. What do you all think these are? The Bokoblin Tower is actually built on top of a stone talus, which is really cool. I wonder how easy it is for them to fall off though. We've seen Hinoxes throwing Bokoblins and using them as weapons in the original, so I wonder how well they may work together or have other interactions in this game. It seems these Bokoblins actually killed a Hinox as they're using its tooth as a platform. It also has spikes all around it, which would make it even more difficult to actually climb the stone talus. Maybe we can burn the wooden structures down, then climb the stone talus. A close-up of Link's hand. It looks like it has some sort of brace around it, the same type of brace as we see on the hand holding down Ganondorf. It also seems Link is lying down here, and he already has the malice damage on his arm. He is also shirtless, which is never a bad thing. So perhaps someone saved him and removed his shirt to look more closely at his arm. Or he fainted on the ground during this whole situation. But again, he or someone else had to remove his shirt. He is also laying on top of a giant symbol. Do you know what it could be? Let us know below. A lot of people are saying this is looking more and more like Twilight magic and designs. I kind of agree, but the Sheikah also have similar designs, as well as the Gerudo, which the Twilight are thought to be a sort of mix of the Gerudo and the Sheikah. So it kind of works out. We actually have a great video going more in depth on that theory, linked above and in the description below. Here we see the first real use of the hand, glowing bright, like the light Zelda has when she uses her goddess powers. This stops the spike ball like stasis does, but instead of simply giving us an arrow, it seems it rewinds it in time and allows us to see the full path, not just the initial direction. We also see a wave of black and white go out from the area, similar to the black and white we see in Wind Waker and Twilight Princess when time is being interacted with. But the circled path more so reminds me of the time shift stones, as I mentioned earlier. We have a new enemy that looks like an arm coming out of the stone and attacking Link, like a weird version of the lava hands in Skyward Sword. Link has a gloved weapon or changes his hand into a dragon. Maybe that jewelry piece that Link is wearing can change shapes, which we did see a lot of concept art for Link having a dragon-like hand, although it was more steampunk and it seemed like his entire arm was completely removed instead of just cursed. However, this final design looks much better than the concept art. It also kind of reminds me of Mega Man. Next, we see even more time control, with this puddle rising back up, hinting to what we see next with Link rising up, creating a circular portal that has him pop up on the other side. I wonder if this will let us go through walls as well. They could make some interesting puzzles and dungeons with this new concept. Finally, we see the castle rising and falling apart. Although Daniel did say it looks like Zelda's room stayed on the ground below. It'll be interesting if we are able to visit new areas of the castle that were blocked off previously in the original. I assume this scene comes right after the ending of the last trailer, where it first begins shaking. Presumably Link and Zelda are still below the castle and feeling the effects of this, with the earthquake, everything falling down and shaking around them, not knowing the actual castle is about to rise up. It also seems like this is before the other areas break off and rise up as well, as we don't see any other floating islands here, unless the others are just so much higher up that we can't see them. But I think they just haven't risen up yet, as the castle would be the first. For more Breath of the Wild 2 videos, check out this playlist linked in the description. Be sure to comment below and give us your thoughts on all of this and what you think is actually going on. I'd love to read through some of your comments. And as always, I'll be giving every comment a like and a heart. We will be making more of these analysis videos as well as theory videos and covering any new information that comes out. So please look forward to more Zelda news coming out soon. And give this video a like and subscribe to help us out. We will be having an episode of our Hylian Gamescast where Daniel, Kayla, 𝐷𝐼𝐺𝐻, and I will be discussing our overall thoughts on Breath of the Wild 2 and the Nintendo Direct as a whole. Really quick, some of you have asked, where is Ocarina of Time HD? You lied to us, Jesse. Your sources aren't real. This channel is a joke. While many others commented saying it sucks it wasn't announced, but now they think the same as I do. So to them, thank you for actually watching the full videos where I said Nintendo will want to hold off on Ocarina of Time HD or other Zelda remakes until Skyward Sword HD releases, which is what I've said in almost every video talking about it. Maybe it would get announced at E3 if we're lucky, but knowing Nintendo, they're going to want to hold off on it, because so many people would cancel their pre-order of Skyward Sword HD and put it towards the other Zelda games. I think Nintendo left this holiday season free of a Zelda game for a reason. And I think we will be getting another Direct or Zelda announcement in the next few months. Think back to how Age of Calamity was announced out of nowhere on a random day that no one expected. As for fake sources, just look at any of the previous videos and dozens of things that just happened to be correct that we said. New Zelda hardware, Age of Calamity DLC, and Skyward Sword HD, all announced in the last Nintendo Direct. Like we said, we were correct on the day and exact time that Nintendo Direct was announced by Nintendo. The Skyward Sword HD and Age of Calamity DLC trailers and details that we said would be coming out in May, a month before E3. And we even said something was going to happen on a specific day, and when that day came, the first 4 Figures Champion Series statues was announced. On the day, we said something Zelda was coming. Me saying Ocarina of Time HD is coming is similar to when I was saying Skyward Sword HD was coming, and so many people commented and told me I was wrong. Nintendo confirmed they weren't doing it. And despite tons of people calling me out, saying I was a liar, that I didn't know anything, I kept saying it was coming. And we found out it was. I said it would have amiibo. It did. I said it would have traditional controls as an option. It did. I said Tantalus would be making it, that it wouldn't be a full remake. It would be more like Twilight Princess HD. And it seems it was. All of the things we've said came true. So please, just have patience and you'll get your announcement soon. So if you still don't believe any of the stuff that we've been saying after all of that 100% proof and providing you the facts, you can go back and try to find something we were wrong about, but I personally just think most of them don't even care and just want the drama or to be noticed, because nothing else is going on.